All right, guys, as part of your learning process here, it's important to understand the home buying process A to Z. Um, this is the home buying process. This is some of the mortgage process. You're going to find this very informative. Again, my name is Todd Miranda, licensed real estate broker, the managing broker for Todd Elliott Real Estate. And guess what? We have helped over 1,250 people own their first home over the past close to 30 years. So that's something we're very, very excited of. I didn't start helping first-time homebuyers till at least a couple years in the business being licensed. Why own a home? Well, first of all, owning a home is the cornerstone of financial wealth in this country. There are two types of people. There are owners and renters. You're paying a mortgage. Are you going to pay a landlord's mortgage or are you going to pay your own? I'd say pay yourself. Build equity. That's why we buy homes, to build equity for the future. It's kind of like a forced retirement account. So that's the importance of owning a home. Not to mention the pride of home ownership. Control. There are some safety, features as well. For example, controlling your heat, making sure that the house is safe, the air quality is safe. There's a lot of valuable things when you own your own home that have intrinsic value to you personally. All right, so you meet somebody. How does it work? Well, you meet somebody. It could be anywhere you meet somebody. Well, let's say you met someone at Starbucks. It could be a family member that you meet or that you talk to, a cousin. It could be a friend. It could be a colleague at work. Doesn't matter. The process is the same for everybody. So what you're going to do is, number one, start off with some basic questions prior to me meeting them. If you're comfortable doing that. If you're not comfortable doing that, then just set up the interview directly with me or get me on the phone right then and there. Fine, get me right on the phone. The sooner I talk to them, the better chance you have of success. But some of the basic questions, hey, how's your income? How's your credit? What do you do for work? What are you looking for? Just get some basic idea. What's your time frame? Just a little basic idea. That's all, just a little conversation. As I said, number two, you're going to set up that interview with me. So maybe get one or two or three alternate times that they could meet. Number three, the interview, the presentation can be in person. I personally like Zoom or Google Meet best. Why? It's effective. It saves gas. It's more efficient. We can meet with more people, less traveling. Yes, some people are very face to face, and I do like face to faces as well. So we take it on a case by case basis. Step number four, qualify them ASAP. When you get comfortable doing so, you can get a general idea if people are qualified. Why do that? Because you want to know how much time you want to spend with them, and if it's a very serious or it's something that's 5 years away, a year away. Listen, if you have a busy schedule, your time's important. You want to be able to schedule your time and use your time effectively. So that's why you want to qualify them ASAP. If they tell you, for example, they've been working for 2 years plus, they have $50,000, $80,000 saved. In some cases, for lower price homes, 30, 40,000 saved. If they have 640 plus credit, if they're ready mentally, you want to get on them right away. Okay. Now, you should be there during the interview that they interview with me. It's a great opportunity to learn. The more you hear me, I include you in the conversation. The more you talk about it, stimulates thinking, the more it'll, just become natural. Naturally, you want to build some rapport with them. Whether when I do the present, I do it's basically a presentation. Let me back up a second. The interview, it's an interview where we're interviewing them. At the same point, we're giving them a presentation to build value and to gain trust in us. So it's basically, we're both basically interviewing each other. You should be there for that. And we're building a rapport, maybe having some small talk and or stuff like that. Um, we want to understand some of their goals. What are your goals? Yeah, I want to buy a home in 8 years. Okay, that's great. It's not going to really do much now because there's nothing to really do at that point, because except for just give them some basic criteria, because we don't even know in 8 years where they're going to buy, where they're going to be. Even if it's 2 years away, it's a long time. you know um, and if someone's a year away, I want to know, what is your time constraints? What made you come to that decision? And a lot of times, I wanted to wait till the interest rates come down. I get that all the time. We're waiting for interest rates to come down. Let's do a little math here for a second. Humor me. You're waiting for interest rates to come down. So let's say the interest rates come down in 1 year. And that's no guarantee. Interest rates come down in 1 year. In that 1 year, the interest rates come down, hopefully, and that's a guess, that's speculation. They come down and you save $150 a month. Fantastic. You saved $1,800. You'll save $1,800 per year. Guess what? The prices went up $30,000 and $40,000, maybe even $50,000. So that $1,800 a year that you saved, you lost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in equity. Now, if you stay at the home for 10 years, you will have recouped $18,000. You're still in the negative. The reality is time is of the essence. Get into the property. Start building equity. All right, so that's why we want to understand some of their goals, some of their thinking. Number 6, qualify. We want to qualify them. We went over real quickly in some other sessions. CIA, not FBI, CIA, credit, income, and assets. Typically, with the credit, we're going to be looking at 640 minimum score. Again, if they're at 600, we're going to get them ready. We'll send them to our credit program where you get paid, by the way. If they're at 680, 700, beautiful. The C, obviously, is, number C is income. So credit income, income. We want to know years on the job. How many years, what do you do for work? How many years you've been on a job? What's the industry? For example, this is where it's important. If somebody has been an LPN, a licensed practitioner, nurse practitioner, I forgot what they call it, but one of those two, practitioner, nurse, or nurse practitioner. If they're an LPN for 3 years, then they get a new job at a different hospital. They're an RN, a registered nurse. Guess what? That's the same industry. We could use those jobs consecutively. So they qualify for the 2 years of work history in the same industry. If someone's a taxi driver for 1 year, then they go become a nurse, that's not going to work. We need 2 years in the same industry. Excuse me. You also have to understand the importance of the different types of income. For example, W-2 income compared to 1099 income. So W-2 income is typically where, let's say, for example, you work for New York City Transit. You get a paycheck every week. Okay? Then we use your gross income. So that's gross income is before taxes. Okay? Not what you take home, but the gross income. That's how we qualify people to buy a home. Now, if you're a real estate professional, if you're a taxi driver, if you own a store or any consultant, typically independent contractor, you're 1099. A little more difficult to buy a home. Why? The government uses the calculation of gross income. Let's say, for example, a taxi Uber driver did 120,000 in gross income as a 1099. They had 70,000 in write-offs. That includes gas, tolls, maintenance. That may include, you know, other expenses that are related to their business. Now, 110,000 minus 70,000 in expenses, that's 40,000 net income. That's what the only income they could use to buy a home. So FYI, and they have to have the business for 2 years. So that's the difference between W-2 and 1099. Okay. All right. The next thing is the A is for assets. Okay, we went over that real quickly in other sessions. What do you have saved? Ask them. Be straight up. Believe me, if they want to buy a home, they'll. And I never had no one not answer the questions. What do you have? What do you have in your savings account? Most people have $5,000 or $10,000 saved. Most people, if they're really good savers, they'll have 30,000 saved. A lot of people, I'd say most people, go into their pension, 401k, their annuity, whatever, where they work, typically if they're a union, and we deal with a lot of unions, 32BJ, 1199, Local 6, those are the two hospital, all the hospital healthcare workers. Local 6 also does some doorman, like similar to 32BJ in hotels and stuff like that, but if most people in the, and also transit, police, New York City government, most people, they have a pension 401k annuity. They do a first-time home buy, a hardship. It's called a hardship loan for a first-time home buyer. Okay. Why do we ask what you have saved? Well, because you're typically going to need about 10% total out-of-pocket expenses. That is the most common method, not the only method, it's most common. That's inclusive of 3.5% is for down payment. That is most common. 6% is for closing costs. That's 9.5%. Then, other little maybe attorney fee or whatever little nuances. 10% total out of pocket is most common. Remember that. $500,000 home, typically $50,000 would do it. Now, there are situations where someone wants to buy a $500,000 home. They only have $30,000. It is possible. Back in the day, I'd get people into a home in Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx for $20,000 total out of pocket. I actually got people into a home for less, but that was very common because we used to do a seller's concession, which is still possible, more difficult today to do. So, for example, if closing costs are 6%, we are allowed to have a seller's concession up to 6%. We don't do that high amount anymore, up to 6% for seller's concession, because there's more buyers out there and they will pay their own closing costs. So it puts us at a disadvantage on the offer. But anyway, let me give an example, and we still do it. You have a property for $400,000. If you times 6%, like you see here, in closing costs, that's $24,000 in closing costs. If the seller is amenable, if they're willing to cooperate with us, they want to sell their property and they like our offer, we'll add the $20,000 on top of the price. The new contract price will be $420,000. That's inclusive of the seller's concession. So the seller's still getting their $400,000. The price is $420,000. That $20,000 is a seller's concession to pay the closing costs. In this example here, we're paying $20,000 of the $24,000 in closing costs. So let's say, for example, on a $400,000 property, a buyer needed $40,000 out of pocket. Now with the seller's concession, they'll minus $20,000. They'll only need $20,000 out of pocket. Okay, so that's seller's concession. We'll go over that more in detail in other sessions. Number 7, mortgage pre-approval. Once we feel that they're good, and if they're borderline, we're going to send them to the bank. And the reason why that's so critical is because you don't want to be showing home or wasting anyone's time. We want to know, is this a viable buyer? Can we accomplish their goals? And their goals might not, let's say, for example, they want Brooklyn, a 2-family in Brooklyn. Okay, great, yeah, make 80. The family makes 100,000, 110,000. By the time we get them approved, this happens all the time. The income's not 110,000; it's 80,000, and they qualify for a 2-family for 750. Extremely difficult to get a 2-family even at that price these days. Just FYI. Okay, send them to the bank. Let's find out the parameters and see if this is even possible. Maybe they don't qualify for Brooklyn, but they're willing to do other areas. Okay, there it is. That's why we want to really be organized and spend our time wisely. Number 8, and I do all this on the presentation interview when I meet them. What is the house criteria? Now, FYI, back up a second. If they tell me to make $30,000 a year, they have 510 credit, I'm not necessarily going into very fine detail on these items here because it's not happening. But I still want to give them the respect, treat them with respect, and give them some sort of realistic hope and try and guide them in the best way possible. So the house criteria is important. Time frame is important. When do they want to buy a home? You're going to ask them, a year, 2 years, 3 years, tomorrow. These are things you need to know to get into their headspace, because buying a home is psychological on some levels. You want to understand where their head is at. If they're very, very nervous and this and that, you have to overcome those hurdles. By identifying what their issues are, that's how you could overcome those hurdles and also give them realistic expectations. I think that's one of the most important things, something that I do very well. I go into fine detail with them as to the options, the possibilities, what their visions, goals, expectations are, what my expectations are, and more importantly, what the market demands from them to be successful in this exciting endeavor. It just might not be possible today. How many family? 1 or 2 family. If they want a 3-family, very difficult to find 3 families, FYI. Stick to a 1 and 2 family. If they want a multi-family, get 2-family with a rentable basement. You want to find out the family size. The reason why I want to know the family size is this. Some people tell me I want a 2-family for rental income, and I ask them how many people are going to live in the house. If they tell me they got 4 kids and their parents, that's 8 people in the property. They're not fitting into a 2-family very comfortably. They need a large 1-family. So the monthly payment will be less. And, because typically most 2-families in the boroughs were originally 1-family homes, and they converted them into 2 families, and there's no formal dining room. The properties are just smaller. There's 2 bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, that's it. In a living room, excuse me. And sometimes it's a living room kitchen combo. Just trying to tell you so you know, these are some of the things you have to understand to get to a final positive result. I want to go over the payment with them on somewhat. If they think they're going to pay $1,500 a month, it's not. If they think they're going to pay $2,000 a month, it's not possible. So you want to be realistic with people and understand that if they're paying $700 of rent now, how do you think they're going to go to paying $4,000 a month mortgage? It's called payment shock. Very, very difficult. Doable if they have the income and they understand it. We want to find out what area you're looking for. What's important to them? Is transportation? Do they drive? Do they need a driveway? Most people want a driveway, but is transportation very important to them? Do they take the subway into Manhattan? They take the bus? All these things matter. How many bathrooms? Formal dining room, like I just told you. These are important questions. And sometimes if you could tell them ahead of time that this is not happening for this reason, and they'll be okay with it. But you want to tell them, give them the right expectations. Number 9, after number 8 was the house criteria that you find out from them. 9 is you start the search. The realtor, maybe it'll be you, hopefully it'll be you, will start to show them homes. If you listen properly, do the proper intake interview with them, you will show them less homes and be more successful. There's not a lot of inventory out there, so you want them to be competitive and be very serious. So something called TOE. You know what TOE is? No, not your big toe. Time is of the essence. They have to be ready and understand this is serious. When they put the offer in, they got to have the team ready. They get an accepted offer. They do an inspection ASAP. Doing an inspection ASAP could be the difference getting their dream home or any home or not getting it. The next thing is once we do the inspection, we're in contract. So this is the mortgage process here. I forgot the number. This is actually number 10, the mortgage process. Once we have contracts, you send the bank a copy of the down payment check with the contract. They will start the process. The first thing they do is called disclosures. They do them typically, you e-sign them, click, 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 click. You're just e-signing online with disclosures. That's required by law. Disclosures, all the bank disclosures with the Dodd-Frank laws and, all the different regulations, requirements in the banking industry. After the disclosures, in the disclosures, there's a form, going to order an appraisal. So that's the next step. Appraisal usually comes about a week and a half after the contract or after the disclosure. Then after that, God willing, another 2 or 3 weeks, you'll get the commitment. A commitment is, hey, we're doing the deal. A commitment could come a week too, right after the appraisal or right near the appraisal too. Depends upon, it could have 30 items on the commitment and it just could be a commitment, but there's a lot of stuff on it that's needed, or it could be so a commitment is basically a checklist of items needed to close. So they might say on the, hey, get a full title report. We need a water meter reading. We need to verify taxes. We need to get a VOE from the bank. Different documents and things that the bank needs within the underwriting process. So typically on a commitment, there's about 25 items on the average commitment that I've seen anyway over many, many, many years. It could be more or less. Many of them are doable. It's just to have to satisfy those requirements. After we get the commitment, I forgot to put one thing in here. I'm sorry. We get CTC, which is a clear to close. Magic words in the business. CTC, clear to close. Once we get clear to close, we do a walkthrough. That's the buyer's walkthrough. Try and do the walkthrough as close to the closing as possible, if not the same day. I've seen many agents and buyers make the mistake. They do a walkthrough 2 days before because it's convenient. Something happens to the property the morning of, a leak, a flood, still furniture there, many different things, and they're stuck with the problem because once you leave that closing, it's done, signed, sealed, delivered. That's it. There's no walking back. That's what we're looking at, guys. So very exciting here. I'm excited to, give you guys this information and this opportunity. It's an incredible journey, this business. Start your career. Earn while you learn. So you could start making money right away. You're also going to get training and investment, flipping. I've flipped over 400 properties plus in my career. How to locate package deals together. We're looking at doing some of the training, teaching on developing lots, all different types of opportunities this creates for you and your skill set. You're going to acquire also, just for being in this business, general business skills. They relate to every business. That's what we're looking at, guys. Again, like I always say, reach out and touch someone. Call or text me. Give me a ring. Look forward to it. And always, as always, I should say, I'll see you at the closing.